How would you describe your childhood growing up in California?
Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer. Grew up in artichoke fields in a beach valley around, 17 miles south of San Francisco on the coast. So I was the tail end of the baby boomers. So I was always one of the younger ones. And there were just tons of kids. And we just played baseball, and then basketball and football. Always was enough. It was Dad taking us to the ballpark. I would shag for Gary when Gary hit, and Gary would shag for me when I hit.
Dad would take us out for practice all the time, be the three of us. You know, my dad would go out there and throw batting practice, and then while he was throwing the ball, he was critiquing your swing. He had a bad arm, he had a bad knee, he didn't have great vision, he was a fireman, his back, but he'd be out there throwing. He was throwing batting practice when he was 50, and when we were both professionals, with no screen. He was quite a guy.
He was great when we were young. He taught us how to throw. I mean, we started from the very basics when we were young, and we had to learn how to throw properly. We were kids. And he would throw in front of the tennis balls in the beginning, because he didn't want us to be afraid of the baseball. And that's how we started.
I just remember being so delighted to have a younger brother, and someone that you could always play with. He was always ahead physically, so he could hang out with my friends, and he would be the first pick in the game, but he could hold his own with the older players. When I listened to him talk, it's funny to hear his description of himself when he was playing with older guys, how he didn't think he was very good. Well, he was very, very good.
Gary's a good player. I mean, you're an All-American, an All-Pac-8 as a sophomore, too. He did it as a sophomore at Cal. He was very protective and always very supportive. And I was a bit of a brat, because I used to sneak up behind him and smoke him in the back or something, then run away. Gary couldn't catch me. I was too quick. And he'd chase me around the cars and just get so angry. And then the next morning I'd wake up and I'd go feed the dog or something, and Gary'd come and just whack me and go, "That's for yesterday."
Yeah, he had a little bit of mischief in him, you know, but and I was pretty easygoing, you know, but every now and again he'd get under my skin, and then I'd say, "I hit you in the face," but I could never do it, you know. I could never pull the punch. He just had an innate ability to understand the game, whether it was baseball or whether as a point guard, he was all-county point guard. He seemed to have the vision on the court. He always knew how the play was going to develop. He was way ahead of the game itself, just like in baseball at first base.
That was the dream. Yep, I wanted to be a baseball player. There was nothing else I wanted to do. I would have had no idea where to go, and because my life was so consumed by baseball. They were my favorite team. I know that's all I knew. I was always their favorite team. I signed as a first baseman pitcher. Said if I didn't make it as a hitter, they would have tried to convert me to a pitcher. I had a great arm. I enjoyed pitching, but I wanted to play every day.
I'm not sure what the expectations were. He was a talented player. I guess he'd had some trouble in high school with the coach.
I came out of basketball, always come out late, because basketball season bled into baseball season, and I was a pitcher pitched once a week and played first base. My arm wasn't ready. I hadn't played baseball for 9 months. And there was every scout in the world at every of the games when I came, and I don't know, my coach just had a baby and couldn't handle it and was really he's a jerk. And I quit. And I quit with 100% approval from my father, but I also got approval from my brother Gary. And that meant more to me, because I remember the day that I walked off the field. Gary was the one that my dad came up all pissed off, but Gary came over and said, "Go ahead, you don't have to take that." And that's what made me do it, not Dad.
Had he played his senior year, I think he would have been drafted much, much higher. But we saw that he was drafted by the Cardinals. So, of course, we were thrilled with that. We were thrilled that he would have an opportunity to play professional baseball. I think my dad and I both felt that he had major league material.
He was a slick fielder. He'd been a pitcher a little bit in high school, and they made him, you know, their first baseman of the future. And it took him a while to get there.
72 was my first year. I went to regular spring training. I remember being very frightened. Big difference is you're playing twice a week, you're playing to every day. And that's when you got to learn how to play every day. And you come and you've hit 500, you know, high 480, 490, 510. You're not going to hit 480 in any professional league. I was a hothead. I threw my helmet and stomped around, and I threw my bat and all that stuff. I did have a temper and didn't know how to handle it. So that was a real good learning year. In AA, I didn't have a roommate, and I was in Little Rock, and I was so lonely. I was 19 years old. I couldn't get into a bar, or Fridays was the big place to go in Little Rock, and they have a bar every Fridays. But I could never sit at the bar. I had to go and just eat. So I just went home a lot, and that AA was the toughest league for me. I had 260, and that was the most difficult league I played in. And I had a real tough time, and I was really worried. Oklahoma City, Ken Boyer was our manager. He calls me in the office and said, you're getting called up. Joe Torre sprained his thumb, and you're going to go up and you're going to play until he can come back. He's day to day. And it was in San Francisco, my hometown.
God, we grew up, the neighbor in our block used to play the Giants on the radio, blast it out while we were out playing so we could hear the Giants game. Willie McCovey, Mays, all these great players. And now my brother is playing baseball in Candlestick Park. That was unbelievable.
When he got there, Joe Torre was the first baseman, and they ended up trading Joe to the Mets. And Joe Torre was a very popular player, and a good player, maybe on the other side a little bit, but a good player. They resented maybe Torre being traded for a little bit, but then they could see how good this guy was. Real smooth left-handed swing, and terrific around the bag at first base.
It was my breakout year, 77. I hit 291 and hit 15 home runs and drove in 91 runs. And that's when I realized I felt I belonged in the big leagues that year. But I'm not thinking of attaining a World Series, and I'm trying to establish myself first. And then 78, I had this year, I can't describe, but I hit 255. I don't know how the hell I did it. I had a terrible second half. I had 218 in the second half. I drove in 20-something runs in the second half. I had a terrible second half. I don't know what the heck happened. And I followed up with the MVP.
Oh, he was clutch. He wasn't afraid to make mistakes. He was the best defensive first baseman that I've ever played with.
Clutch. He's that guy that you want at the plate when the game is on the line. You know you're going to get that effort every day. And I think this is the thing that distinguished Keith from anybody else. Keith was fearless.
Whitey came over middle of 80, and then started the first season, full season in 81. That's when I realized we had a chance to be a world champion. Whitey was like, I think, taught us the fundamentals of the game and taught us how to win. He came and took the reins.
If he hadn't been a warrior and a guy that would be hitting 350 and worry about going in a slump all the time, he might have been a 380 hitter every year. That's how good he was. I mean, he was a winner. He was into the games. He was the best first baseman on bunt plays, bunt defense I've ever seen. He had a knack about him.
Hitting third, number 37, first baseman, Keith Hernandez.
The emotion was great. I mean, it was finally attaining everything that I had won Gold Gloves. I had been an All-Star. I won an MVP. I won a batting title. There was only one thing left, and that was the ultimate, was to win a World Series. So that was the cherry on top. No question about it. It was a great group of guys.
It was probably his finest team hour here. He had a better year in 79 individually, but he got a ring for 82, and he had a lot. He drove in the 2 tying runs, and then George Hendrick followed that. with a single to put them ahead 4-3, and they went on to win.
My teammates really helped me out. They were patting me on the back, and when I got the first hit, we lost the game in Milwaukee. I went 3 for 4. All my teammates came up to me and patted me on the back, and it just made me feel real great. And that's the whole way this club's been. It's been a team effort.
The next year for me was I had a hard time because I had run out of goals. I had attained everything in the sport. Everything there was to attain, and I had no other goals other than to repeat. And I just had a motivation problem. Yes, there was shock. Oh, St. Louis, that was a that was not greeted warmly.
I was completely shocked when I heard that Keith Hernandez got traded to the Mets. It just shocked me because he was such a good Cardinal and such a good Cardinal player. And I don't know what happened, but I know I was shocked, and a lot of players were shocked.
That was awful. They thought, who are these guys? Who's Neil Allen and Rick Ombie? When Whitey, I guess to his credit, wouldn't offer up why. There were some rumblings that Keith had some drug issues or some kind of issues off the field. Maybe the word had got around that there was some culture issues with the Cardinals involving Keith. I don't know for sure about that, but you would think that he would have got a better haul than that, but maybe teams sensed that, hey, the Cardinals are desperate here, let's not mortgage the farm here, and the Mets were awful.
Awful. Only because we were just bad. The team was really, really bad. I think that we were in transition, a lot of young guys coming up.
The reaction was, why? Why? Not on the Mets end. Well, how are they getting this guy? Because you knew how, he was an MVP a few years earlier. They had just won a championship. Why are they getting rid of this guy who's an all-star first baseman? So a lot of unanswered questions, but from the Mets' point of view, it was, whoa, this could be a big move here. This is the kind of guy they need right now.
Whitey didn't like me for some reason. Didn't like the way I played. I know some of my teammates told me that Whitey would ask questions. He didn't like me. I was a chatterbox. He didn't like that I talked all the time. I just never felt that I lived up to his expectation.
I didn't want to get rid of Keith. I mean, Keith was an outstanding ball player and a winner. One of my best players. I sure as heck didn't want to give him to the Mets. But when your ownership tells you he's got to be gone by the weekend and there's only one club that'll take him, and that's the Mets.
That was a real tough one for the whole family. I know Keith was very, very upset because he talked about quitting. When you've been with the Cardinals since you were 18 and now, 1972, and then now it's 11 years later, and now you're traded without warning, it's like being kicked out of your house. Like your parents, they don't want you anymore. That was the feeling. I said, Keith, here's what I think. I go, you're going to the biggest media capital center in the world. I said, St. Louis is a great place with tons of tradition, but now you're going to go to the Mets, or the New York, where I think people are going to see your talent for what it is.
When I was traded there, I felt that I was being traded to Siberia, and I think the person that traded me had the same idea, trying to put me there. It was a ghost town. It was a losing team, the last place team. No one hung out together. Bus to the ballpark was empty. Bus home to the hotel, empty.
He met Seaver and Dave Kingman in the locker room that day when we walked around.
Kingman, who was never showed any emotion, came flying towards me with a big smile on his face and said, gosh, welcome to the Mets. I'm so glad you're here. You're my ticket out of here. I'm going, okay.
Dave had dumb power, but he couldn't catch a ball at first base.
Seaver comes up, smile on his face, and he goes,
welcome to the Stems.
And I go, Stems? And he goes,
that's spelled backwards, dummy.
I'm going, where am I? What team am I on here?
It was kind of a mix and match team. They were in between hanging on, you know, to get some veteran guys and having the young guys come up. They had brought in George Foster, who they saw as kind of superstar, but he didn't have a personality to be a leader.
They were the lowly Mets losers, bottom of the barrel. I remember catch the rising stars at Shea Stadium when they were last play. I remember we flew into LaGuardia and we're on the bus. I mean, we drove by, we just started laughing because they were just a terrible team.
This was an important building block toward changing the perception of the Mets as these bumbling fools and changing the clubhouse culture, which was acceptant of mediocrity.
I think that Keith has meant a lot to this ball club, and I think he will mean a lot in the years up ahead, both as an offensive, defensive performer, but also the very presence that his personality brings to the club.
The team was emerging, was in the early stages of its evolution. The best player, the most interesting player, was one of its youngest, in Darryl Strawberry.
What did you know about him?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I had no idea who he was. He was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and I was in it. And I remember that, you know, when I was in high school. That's the only thing that I remember about who he was, you know, when I saw his picture on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
That was a pretty traumatic time. I think my dad really came through on that, having watched the New York Mets and seeing their minor league system. I think he said just the perfect thing for that.
ESPN was showing minor league games. And he saw Doc and Darryl and Lenny and Roger McDowell and Tidewater. He called me on the phone and said, they got this kid, you know, Gooden down there that is something else, and Strawberry. And they got some other players that are young, and they really got a lot of talent. Once my dad made the statement, then I agreed right then that I said, you know what, I've been wrong so many times in my life, and my dad's been pretty much right. Most of his advice that he's given over the years, I flipped a coin. I signed because of my father.
We started in spring training together, and we had a new look, and you know, we had a new manager, which was Davey Johnson.
Davey Johnson, who had managed the Mets at Tidewater, so he had come up with this team, but the Mets were on their way to becoming a force, and part of it was the cohesion that they had as minor league stars, along with their manager. They all arrived en masse in 1984, and now they had Keith on board.
Davey was great. He just always said, I don't care what you guys do, just don't embarrass us. Well, I guess a couple times we did. You know, don't embarrass the team. Just come to the park, be ready to play.
I think Davey recognized immediately, Davey knew that Keith was a leader, and he was going to let him lead. And if he wanted something said, if Davey wanted something said to somebody else on the team, he would go to Keith.
Well, Keith is a rare bird. He was an everyday player that loved pitchers. Most everyday players do not enjoy pitchers at all, and he loved pitchers. He loved being around pitchers. He liked talking to them. He liked hanging out with them. I think Keith has great instincts as far as knowing that maybe this was part of the future of the team.
I always say Keith was like my assistant pitching coach on the field, because he'll come to the mound a lot and tell me, this guy, keep the ball down and wait to him, or this guy, a lot of curveballs, or how to pitch certain guys. He paid attention to details of the games, and even in the dugout, talking to the guys on deck that's hitting. Whether he was hitting or not, he was totally into the game.
Keith would tell me, he says, Wally, go up there. I need you to see 5 or 6 pitches so I can see what this guy's got. So I'm like going, I got to give a bat away to try to let Keith know what's coming. And I listened to Keith. You know, I did it. I would do what he asked me to do. He was our best hitter. He was the guy that we knew when we were in crunch time, we needed him up to bat.
3-2 to Keith Hernandez. Tying run at second, bottom of 8. Base hit center field. Hernandez comes through again, and we got a tie ball game.
Keith was head and shoulders above everyone else. By far and away, he became their #1 player, their #1 talent, their most visible player, and he was going to be a mentor to Darryl Strawberry, which is exactly what Darryl needed.
Keith started talking to me and started showing me things, and he says, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to keep the front shoulder, and you can always see him. He would be on base, you know, on second base, he'd be telling me, keep that shoulder in, you know, in big situations, and, you know, all those things were so important to me. My development became great because of him.
And a drive to right. It'll be gone. Goodbye.
He was on a different level. I had never played with someone who just knew so much about the game.
He's probably one of the best first basemen I've ever seen. The way he ran bunt plays and just controlled the infield.
I've said, as a broadcaster and a baseball fan all my life, I have never seen a better first baseman. I don't think anybody ever played a better defensive first base than Keith did.
Look at Hernandez. A Golden Glove first baseman makes a Golden Glove play.
It was the perfect player at the perfect time for the team that needed him the most. If he leaves after 83, I don't know how 84 goes. I don't know if you get to the precipice in 85, and who knows if 86 is the same. Him signing after 83 was everything.
Once we got Carter in the offseason, I said, okay, we got a real good shot. Because Gary was the right guy to handle that young pitching staff, because he called a real aggressive game.
Well hit deep to left field, way back it may go. It is gone, a home run. Gary Carter wins it.
Getting Keith was a lot different from getting Gary. Players wasn't as warm to Gary as they were to Keith. Gary was the All-American boy, and Keith was more of a renegade. You know, he was more free-spirited type of player. And you know that team we had some free-spirited players. So they warmed up to Keith a lot quicker than they did to Gary.
They've got one superstar, and now they've got another. This is exactly what the Mets needed. They've got an all-star catcher who can handle this young pitching staff now as a complement to Keith's strategizing. This team was really ready to take off. I really sensed in '85 the shifting tide in New York was moving away from the Yankees now, and it was about to become a Mets town.
I mean, we won 98 games and went home. It was all about, we were fighting them for the division. Although I did like going in there and playing against them, of course.
He had a bug in him about the Cardinals. You know, that probably as good a player as Keith was, and he was one of their best players. So that probably wouldn't sit good with any player. I'm sure that he wanted to stick it to him.
They liked Keith, you know, because they was their teammate for a while. They didn't like Gary Carter. They didn't like Strawberry. They didn't like a lot of them. They didn't like Wally Backman. They didn't like Dykstra.
We didn't like Tommy Hurt, you know, get in the box, you know. He was like always fixing his hair and his helmet, you know, and we was like, dude, get in the box or somebody needs to drill him.
I remember riding the subway one time to Shea Stadium, and a couple of players were there with me on the subway, and there was an entrance that said Midget Mets. And one of the players said, that must be where Dykstra and Backman go in.
And I just remember in the clubhouse and how we were, you know, how quiet, you know, our clubhouse was, because we realized we didn't ever want to feel like this again.
A lot of players were found to have used cocaine or something of the like, and there were three of them on the Cardinals: Keith, Lonnie Smith, and Joaquin Andahar. Peter Ueberroth was the commissioner then. There was a trial, and there were 7 guys who got a suspension for a year, including Keith. But Ueberroth said, I will waive that sentence, commute that sentence, I guess it's a proper word, if you donate 10% of your salary for this season to drug relief causes and put in 100 hours of community service for drug programs. And all the players did. They wanted to keep playing.
Well, what do you think I testified? Like someone went behind bars. I was a state witness. I'm not going to go to jail. I'm not going to commit perjury. I wish I'd never gotten involved in that. The biggest mistake of my life. Not because I got dragged in. Even if I'd have gotten away with it, say, with more than a few players slipped under the radar, even if I had not been involved in the investigation and the trial, it was the stupid part of my life, stupid mistake.
For the 1986 New York Mets, spring training began with thoughts of a championship. After 2 seasons of near misses, the Mets and manager Davey Johnson were well aware of what they had to do to change their fortunes.
Every once in a while, you come across a team that just has that it factor, that everything they do is going to turn out right, and there's just no beating them.
The 2-0 delivery to Tuffle, swung on, that's the ball game! Into deep left field, that ball is gone! A grand slam home run! Timmy Tuffle!
This ball is out of here, and this ball game is over, and I don't believe it! They're spreading the news that they are right now the dominant team in this game.
He struck out the side, and the Mets have shut out the Cubs.
He's talking about maybe a team that had the best right fielder in Strawberry, best starting pitcher in Gooden, best first baseman in Hernandez.
Cruz with a ground ball. It's a fair ball, and Hernandez has got it. Woo! The throw is in time. What a play!
Our best catcher, Carter. The team was a magnet for a lot of different folks to be attracted to.
A lot of these guys have said it. The turning point was that 4-game sweep in St. Louis pretty early in the year.
And a ground ball hit hard. Stamp, great play by Backman. To second for 1. First double play. The game is over. The Mets have won the ball game. A magnificent play by Wally Backman.
I had no idea that when we went in there in April and swept them 4 games at home, that they would have a nervous breakdown and never recover. And then we just, from that point on, we blew the league away.
Templeton's coming around to score. Flannery to second. The throw. Out at home. He's out at home. The throw to third. Out at third. The Mets win it 6-5.
Nightly, you didn't know what was going to happen, and it was somebody different, and it was somebody you didn't think would come through at a big time. I enjoyed watching our team play. I got the same uni on, but I'm sitting on the bench, and I liked watching them play. I got it why our Met fans liked our team so much, because I did too.
Well hit, way back, deep center field. Darryl Strawberry has done it again. A tremendous home run to center field. It's tied 5-5.
The attitude about us was fun. We were really crazy. I love that about how crazy we were, because we wasn't intimidated about the fact that we had to go in and play teams. And if we were down, we were coming back. It was just a group of young players with some really cool veteran players that made us good.
Ground ball to the right side of the infield. Backman has it to Hernandez. Mets win. It's over. Keith Hernandez took the throw.
When we went out and hung out together, it was a team would just meet for beers to discuss and talk about the game. That's how we did it with the Cardinals all the time.
This is the biggest thrill right here.
And that's how you build a camaraderie.
Come on, Rod, come on.
And you learn. But we got our work cut out for us. Mike Scott.
Struck him out. The Houston Astros have defeated the New York Mets 1-0.
Ah, man, there was so much tension and so much suspense. They all lived in fear of Mike Scott, who won the Cy Young, and they were all convinced he was scuffing. They were collecting the baseballs.
We knew he was on a roll, and he was tough.
That Houston series was really tough. And they knew going into Game 6 that they had to win. They were not going to beat Mike Scott in Game 7. They did not have confidence against Mike Scott. So Game 6 to them was Game 7.
Greatest game I've ever played was Game 6.
All right, 2-1 to Hernandez. Ball is hitting the gap. Hatcher's on his horse, going, can't get it. It's against the wall. Hernandez at second with a double. It's a 3-2 ball game.
The Mets had a team that was poised to win, and Keith made sure that they did win.
It's a full count, 3-2. Mike Scott, he watched the pitch the seventh game.
Pitch on the way. Swing and a miss. Swing and a miss. Struck him out. Struck him out. Mets win it. The Mets have won it. They're in the World Series.
Welcome to the 1986 World Series. The Red Sox and Mets arrive here on the wings of remarkable playoff victories.
I never liked the World Series because I didn't know the pitchers. It just, I did not like not having a feel for their pitching staff. I never faced Clemens. I never faced Hurst. Just had to basically feel like I had an 0-2 count every at bat.
And I'm convinced that they fell behind the Red Sox because they were just emotionally worn out from that Astros series. And then they have to fight back, and you get the Game 6 of all Game 6s in the World Series.
And that's hit to dead center with Henderson going to run it down. And the Mets are down to their last out.
I went into Davey's office. I figured it was the last at bat of my season, our season. I grabbed a Budweiser and sat in Davey's director's chair.
I remember all of us trudging down to the elevator thinking, wow, the Mets are really going to lose this. They're really going to lose it. I had no inkling that this could actually ever happen. And then suddenly Carter.
Lined into left field, base hit.
Kevin Mitchell.
Curveball, and that's going to be hit to center, base hit.
Great night.
And that's going to be hit into center field, base hit. Here comes Carter to score, and the tying run is at third in Kevin Mitchell.
Got a run in, and all of a sudden the tying run's on base. I ran to my locker and got my glove. I was going halfway out the door going to field, and I said, no, that chair's got hits in it, and I stayed right there.
All of that is about what the team was about and what Keith kept pounding into their heads because it was the way he was.
Little roller up along first, behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win it. So here is Keith Hernandez. Bases loaded, 1 out in the 6th. 3-0 Boston.
I was sitting maybe 3 rows back. When he was on deck circle, I knew the game was on the line, and he was facing Bruce Hurst. I knew he was going to be wanting to look over, and I just gave him a fist bump, and he kind of went like this. And then right before he got up again, he looked at me once more, and I gave him this. And he told me, Gary, when you gave me the second one, he goes, I knew it was okay.
Fastball hit into left center field, base hit. In comes Mazzilli. In comes Wilson. Stopping at third is Tuffle. 3-2 Boston.
He struck him out. Struck him out. The Mets have won the World Series. And they're standing and crowding all over Jesse Orasco. The dream has come true.
Woke up this morning, I told my brother who was with me from California, Gary, I said, if I get a chance with men on base today, I'm going to be the man.
That was unbelievable. You know, and I was sitting right there in New York, in the ballpark, World Series in New York, and then he's a winner again, you know, so, man, that's just euphoric.
The fact that they were a perennial last place team and that we basically turned it around in 3 years, win a World Series. The only one before was '69, the Amazings. Something I'm very proud of. And also, too, it's redemption from Whitey, St. Louis.
I'm Frank Cashin, the general manager of the New York Mets.
And I'm Keith Hernandez, captain of the New York Mets.
A review of the 1987 New York Mets.
Going into the season, I have never been more confident, never going into a season with higher expectations.
Yes, Frank, it was a season of great expectations, defending world champions, the challenges there to repeat. I went into spring training with a very positive attitude.
'87 was the most disappointing year for me, the most frustrating year because we break camp and Doc had to go in the tank.
Even before the regular season started, you had Doc going into drug rehab, and then one by one, the starting pitchers went down, and it just seemed as though fate had conspired against the Mets in 1987 the way it had for them the year before.
The trouble was after '86, the expectations now were even higher. They hadn't been there in '86. They developed in 86, but they weren't there to start it. Now in 87, 88, everyone thinks this team's got to win 120 games. Maybe they should have. I mean, they had such unbelievable talent with Straw and Doc in particular. You still had the elements there to win, but it just didn't work.
To win 92 ball games, 10 games out at the All-Star break, any team could have laid down and died. We showed a lot of character, I felt, to come back and make a race out of it and really fall out of it the last 4 days of the season.
We would have been healthy. We would have won 2 in a row. We would have won. And in 88, we won our division.
We have a better team, talent-wise, than we had in 86. But 86 team had more guts. It was never supposed to lose to the Dodgers. I just never got over that.
If the Dodgers beat us, it'd have been 3 years in a row. That just sticks in my craw.
Contracts being what they are, and knowing that Keith's was up at the end of '89 and that Gary Carter's contract as well, you knew, even going into that season, there was a pretty good chance that they were both entering their last years as Mets.
I never got hurt the first 13 years of my career. I pulled a hamstring in going first to third in St. Louis, of all places. That was 88. 89, I break my kneecap. I missed 9 weeks. Came back in August. And when you have a leg injury and you can't run, I don't care what kind of rehab you do, and you're 35 years old, you're not going to bounce back. It was the beginning of the end for me.
That was a tough thing for, I think, the fans certainly to accept. And you knew he didn't want to leave, but it just didn't seem plausible as that season wound down that Keith would be back in 1990, and as it turned out, he was not.
Will this be Keith Hernandez' final at-bat at Shea Stadium?
This is quite a sight to see Keith getting this standing ovation. With the acquisition of Keith Hernandez, the Mets became really a bona fide contending ball club.
A looping fly ball down the left field line. John Kruk is there, and a foul fly retires Hernandez.
Once again, he gets a standing ovation from the loyal crowd here at Shea Stadium.
I was too emotional. I couldn't focus and concentrate. And they gave us a standing ovation. It was a very emotional one for me. Frank made the right decision. What are they going to do? Re-sign me to a big contract? I mean, I went to Cleveland and got a 2-year deal, and I was done. I went to spring training and went, oh God, I'm finished. I couldn't run. I couldn't afford to lose a step. I think I lost 2 steps with the kneecap. I realized that it was time for me to pack it in. I was Jerry's favorite player, so he conceived this episode. Larry David's a Yankee fan, so along with Larry, conceived the episode.
You're the only guest that ever came on the show that I was nervous to meet and changed my shirt like 3 times before I left to make sure that I had the right shirt. Is this right? Should I wear a white shirt? Should I wear a blue shirt? I was so excited to meet you, more than anybody else that ever did the show.
My first experience acting was Seinfeld.
Had you heard of the show when we...
No, I did not. I did not watch it the first year.
That's great.
And I open up the script and I realize I don't have minimal lines. I am the guest star. So all the scenes that I was in, I not only memorized my lines, I remembered everybody else's lines. It was nerve-wracking. It was very nerve-wracking. I screwed up the first scene in front of the live audience, and I remember Jerry, I was all nervous, and Jerry came up to me and said, "What are you nervous for? You hit in front of 50,000 people." And I go, "Jerry, I don't memorize lines in front of 50,000 people." And I just took a deep breath, like I was in the batter's box in Game 7 in the World Series. Just took a deep breath, counted to 10, and I didn't make a mistake.
What's he waiting for? I thought he was a cool guy.
Come on, I won the MVP in '79. I can do whatever I want to.
Oh, this is getting awkward.
Well, good night.
Good night. Who does this guy think he is?
I'm Keith Hernandez.
You have no idea what being on that show did for me.
Wow.
Incredible.
Yeah, it really changed everything, didn't it?
Oh, it just completely.
But at the time, you didn't realize
No,
it.
I did not.
And we didn't either, by the way.
People ask me to say it, to repeat the line. A lot of them ask for, can you just tell my mom, I'm Keith Hernandez? It happens all the time. Well, just ask. I'm Keith Hernandez.
He's Keith Hernandez is presented by your Tri-State Cadillac dealers.
At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the St. Louis Cardinals. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. Gary Cohen, Keith Hernandez, Ron Darling with you tonight as the Mets play Game 3 of their 4-game series against the Cardinals.
I had a hard time separating myself, becoming a member of the media, because I always felt I was a player. It's kept me in the game.
It's a positive reinforcement. Okay, you had your issue. You are catching my starting pitcher, my ace.
We've been together now 17 years. I think it's a good blend. We have he's like the Leonard Bernstein. He's the maestro.
Deep left field, down the line, that ball is out of here! Tom Frazier ties the game!
Ronnie's the brass section and I'm the strings. And he brings us in the conversation.
I'm Gary, this is Keith, this is Ron. We're back for our 17th season of Mets baseball on SNY. They said it would never last.
I think the fans have three guys that I think it's an intelligent broadcast. It's a baseball broadcast, and people learn something.
You got a nice stance, too, slightly closed. Very good.
He is such an interesting person. You never know what's going to come out of his mouth, what kind of phraseology, what's going to peeve him on a particular day, what's going to bore him on a particular day. And I just think there's an essential honesty with Keith that everybody gravitates to.
That's mine. No, we can share. Oh, okay. Come on. Keith has been famous since the second I've known him. He's just that kind of guy. He has the kind of magnetism that you don't teach. You either have it or you don't. His intelligence.
The veteran players now, it's very incumbent on them, Gary, speaking as a former player, for them to take charge in that clubhouse.
His humor.
You're going to send a guy out and shut my power down in 30 minutes? That is baloney.
He can be a little rowdy at times.
And I'm just really thrilled. And this camera is so swift.
No! I never had any idea that we'd develop the bond that we have. And what we have is indescribable and irreplaceable, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
So grateful that Keith and I have had these 17 years to become dear friends, to understand each other much deeper than we ever did as ball players. Like any friendship, that'll mean so much to me until the day I'm not here anymore.
He's engaged, got those alert eyes. He gets the game within the game, and he sniffs out, phoniness in a heartbeat. And he doesn't take himself too seriously.
Just feel shut in here. I need to get out. I begin to feel like one of those crazy cat people. Don't worry, Hodge. You know I'm only kidding. You're the best. Hodge.
Hey, Keith. What's up?
The 11-time Gold Glove Award winner, a 5-time All-Star, and a Mets Hall of Famer, number 17, Keith Hernandez.
There are people who have a certain magnetic part of their personality that whenever they walk into a room, everybody's attention is drawn to them. And Keith is that kind of person. There aren't many people you come across like that in life. Keith Hernandez is clearly one of them.
Keith was more himself legit self than any really good player I ever played with, and legit cared about his team and, more importantly, his teammates.
You know, I had no idea who he was when he came over in my rookie season. But after, you know, you seeing him play a few years with us, and then you would go on to say, thank you, St. Louis. You guys send us a real leader, a real winner. If you don't have that kind of player on your team, you may never get over the hump.
I tend to believe that Keith probably was the most important trade that the Mets ever made. I think arguably without Keith, no way we have the success we did. We just don't.
We just felt like he was the heartbeat of that ball club. Much like Seaver before him with that generation of Mets teams, where Seaver just, you know, you guys might have been a bad team, but you're not going to be a bad team anymore. I don't play with bad teams. That's how Keith was for our generation of teams.
When you're a kid, you, Little League uniform, I'm copying Mickey Mantle. You dream of being an all-star. You dream of being a major leaguer. You dream of maybe winning an MVP or a batting title. And thought never crosses your mind to have a number retired.
It's my pleasure to affirm Keith Hernandez, number 17, will be retired this year in a ceremony on July 9th.
There's only 3 players up there, and that would be Mr. Seaver and Mr. Koosman and Mr. Piazza, and I'll be the 4th. And along with Casey and Gil, it is just such a great honor.
He touched so many players and his knowledge to make us better. And now that this guy who helped me along the way in my career, helped me have success, number's been retired, that's going up on the rafter that nobody will ever wear again. You just feel like you're a part of that because he had something to do with your career as well.
For us ball players that played with him, we cared about him because he made a difference in our lives. He was the first step, the pillar in building a successful team. He knows that, but more importantly, we all know that.
It's been a long journey for Keith. His numbers being retired, I mean, that's just unheard of. We couldn't even in our wildest dreams ever think that would ever happen. I think my father, I think his smile would just be like this. I mean, it would just be so huge. And my mom would be so proud. She was always so very supportive.
They'll be up there looking down. Thought that getting traded to the Mets was the nadir of my career. It really was. And it turned out to be the zenith. It's funny how that works.